you've inherited some things from your parents, right? Yesterday, my son took a doll from my daughter. And this demon came out of my daughter, right? She's 16 months old, and she just went, right? I'm like, whoa, like, where did that come from? And she gets that from her mom. And no one believes that because it's not true. They get that from me, right? They get that stubborn, redheaded. They're redheaded on the inside, right? They're ginger-hearted. You know, it's like it's what I've passed them. But you've gotten things from your parents, right? Some good things, right? Hair. You know, if you've still got it, you're like, yes, thank you. You know, wherever that comes from, your eye color, you know, you've gotten some good things from your parents. You've gotten some bad things from your parents, right? Like bad cholesterol, balding, propensity for cancer, right? You go to the doctor and you're getting checked up. They ask you, probably their most important question is family history, right? Why? Because they pass that stuff on. That again, smaller scale is what has happened to us. Except there are no variations of death. It's just death, right? It's just Adam spiritually died. He passed it to all of us. So we are born spiritually dead. It is imputed to us. It is because we are human, we've gotten Adam's fall, his corrupt nature. And virtually every church in history has believed some degree of original sin. That's what this is called, or inherited. I prefer inherited sin or imputed sin because it wasn't really the original sin. The first sin was Lucifer, kicked out of heaven. But so inherited sin. And every church believes some version of original sin, but it's like the argument is always the degree to which we are corrupt. How corrupt are we, right? I got in a conversation not long ago with a guy, and I was quoting him Ephesians 2. It says, you were dead in your trespasses and sin. And he said to me, well, dead doesn't really mean dead. And I'm like, okay. No, I think it does. Dead is dead. And that's why when God told Adam and Eve, if you eat of this tree, you will what? Die. And they died. They died physically later, but they died spiritually right then. They spiritually died. And that is the death that has cursed mankind. It's the death that is imputed to all of us. It's the gift that keeps on giving, right? It is Adam just has passed to us all, and we were all born into that sin. And back in the early church days, there was a man named Augustine, and he went to war with a guy named Pelagius. And basically, they were fighting over this issue of original sin because Pelagius would say, well, we're not really that corrupt. We're not really that spiritually dead. And Augustine would say, no, we're absolutely dead. And in the garden, Adam and Eve had the potential to sin or not sin. They could choose it. They had that choice. They had the freedom to choose to sin or not sin. They had the freedom to choose die or not die. They had the freedom to resist temptation because their nature was not corrupt, right? And so that's why Adam, being our representative, he was even far better than us because we were born corrupt. So here he stands, him and Eve, stand without corruption, able to make choices based on, what they wanted to do. Now, we know they chose and disobeyed, and when they did, death reigned. But now, we don't have the same kind of choice. We have real choices that matter, real choices that we will be held accountable for. However, our choices are based in, I say it like this, people will do what they most want to do. So your choice is based on your nature. Now, if we are all a corrupt people from birth, if our nature is corruption, sin, and death, then we don't really have the propensity in and of ourselves to fight temptation, to choose not to sin, to choose God. There is nothing in us because of our fallen nature, because of our sin, because of we are spiritually dead. There's nothing in us that can say, I want life, I want God, I want to not sin. No, our nature just says, okay, the thing I most want is sin. The thing I most want is for me to be God. The thing I most want. And that's what I choose. Now, that's the importance of the Holy Spirit, because the only way that we could ever be brought back out of that sin nature is if God does the work in us, changes our nature, and gives us eyes to see and helps us have the ability to come into God.